And welcome back to another episode of the Double Doink Podcast. My name is Brendan D. Thanks so much for tuning in today. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It would be greatly appreciated. You can also rate the podcast and review the podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. It would also be greatly appreciated. We're talking strictly Philadelphia Eagles today. No one else to do with it. My man, my friend, Thomas. What's going on?
What's going on, Brandon?
Not much.
Draft's
coming. We're in a weird spot of the NFL calendar right now. That kind of like that.
We're supposed to get hyped up for the coaches, GM, owners meeting.
It's funny. I never really thought much of the league owners meetings until I started working at the Score, and like you have to start covering stories on it. Like I never even had it like on like a date on my NFL calendar watch when I wasn't working for it.
It's only in the past few years that I actually realized it was a thing, that it happened.
Yeah. Why don't we start there? So Nick Sirianni, Howie Roseman, and Jeffrey Lurie all spoke over the last couple of days at the league owners meetings. Is there anything that kind of caught your eye from one of those three guys?
Oh yeah, I mean the breaking news of it. Basically, we got cemented that the Kelly Green uniforms.
Yeah, I'm hoping you're starting there. That's the big news.
I mean, that is legit big news, and I mean, we all knew that it was going to come sooner rather than later, but now it's confirmed that it will be in 2023, and I think everybody's pumped for that. So that was really good to get that confirmation. But yeah, other than that, I liked. I know it's nothing really groundbreaking of any sorts, but I like to hear just Howie Roseman just discussing the whole strategy of approach of the free agency, because it kind of aligned pretty much with what we've been experiencing here. That like you only have that much capital, like that many resources for each position, and like they had an idea of which guys they wanted to keep at the end of at the beginning of free agency, and like you said, like plan A is never going to be like, rarely does plan A work out to perfection, and the best part, the best ones at organizing and managing a free agency period is that you can go to plan B and go to plan C whenever that doesn't. And I think he's pretty much hinting at they had a very firm belief that they were going to get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back, and when that didn't happen, they pivoted towards James Bradbury, paid him instead, and things happened of that nature. So yeah, I think he was pretty honest about everything. I think he kept it realistic, and yeah, I liked it.
There was kind of like an acknowledgement or a realization, and to the fans now that they know that the Jalen Hurts contract is coming, and they're going to have to kind of pivot their team building strategy to, we have a cheap quarterback contract, to we're going to have an expensive quarterback contract. So cool seeing Howie and just kind of acknowledge that. And of course, they've been thinking about that. Everything they've done over the last 2 years is, or I guess since last year, is kind of realizing that this Hurts contract could be coming. We didn't know that at the beginning of last year, and now it's full on. Like, Jalen Hurts, the guy. Like, it's a full. One of my biggest takeaways is they are 100% locked in on Jalen Hurts, as they should be, and there's full kind of commitment to him. Like, it was majority of the questions that Howie and Lurie got, and the answers were basically regarding that we are going to be paying Jalen Hurts soon.
Yeah, and I guess for me, like, reason I didn't bring that up to begin with as well is that, like, I think we kind of knew this already. Like, they've been saying it a couple times now already that they want to get a long-term deal done with Jalen Hurts, and that's a super good problem to have. It's what you wanted. Is what everybody wanted, is that you have your quarterback. You found your quarterback. Like, not many teams have that. Maybe not even 10 teams in the NFL have a quarterback. You go, that is the guy unquestionably, and Jalen Hurts is one of them.
Nick also has talked a lot about the coaching staff. That was kind of a big thing with him and Howie and Lurie, that they were late to the party with the coaches, right? Because they went to the Super Bowl. They didn't have a lot of the coaching hires that they were able to make or wanted to make, were probably gone, and they kind of had to pivot to college coaches. They had to pivot to guys that didn't have a job, because you can't change teams once the contract is pen to paper, like a lateral move. So I think that was kind of interesting. They, in their minds, I think they are a little bit frustrated with how many coaches left the building. And that's what happens when you make the Super Bowl. Teams are going to poach your coaches. And I believe that was kind of an emphasis for them over the first 2 weeks after the Super Bowl, which rightfully so. You got to replace your coaches. Another thing that I took from the press conference, they talked a lot about offense, not a lot of defensive conversation. Lurie, especially Lurie's interview, I thought was the best out of all three. It's cool when you get to hear Lurie speak. You don't hear him speak very often, but he was full blown like pushing the elite offense is how you succeed, and I think there's some takeaways for that over the next couple days or next couple weeks. Sorry, with the draft coming up. I'm starting to lean that the first maybe 2 or the 3 picks are going to be offense. I don't know. Like I'm not locked in that they're going to try to fix this defense. Or I know fix is the right word, but they're going to continue to keep putting players with Jalen Hurts that will set them up to succeed. And I think that's going to start with this draft. Like they're full blown set on having a top 5 elite offense, an efficient offense to win football games and succeed. And you can't push back on that. That's how you win the NFL.
Yeah. I don't know if it has any implications with the draft. Like, they could basically keep their offense and set as it is, and it'd be a top 5 offense in the NFL. So, but yeah, he's right. But yeah,
we're going to touch on kind of some positions of need later in the episode. Last take I want to throw by you from the press conferences. I think, myself included, we might take Jeffrey Lurie for granted a little bit.
Yeah, I think he's definitely like of all the shady owners who definitely have a ton in their back, or
like you could like
a ton of shit in their background. I just can't imagine that with Jeffrey Lurie. Maybe I'm being naive, but I genuinely think he's a good guy.
Yeah, generally probably a top 5 owner in the NFL, maybe even top 3, depending on who you look at and who you talk to. But there's never any like issues in the back end. Of course, during the 2020 season, there was a lot of nonsense going on, but I think that was just kind of the overall team, and I don't think it was focused on Lurie. But
I really think it's just a great cohesion between like owner, general manager, and head coach, whoever that is at the time.
Yeah, like this. I guess final takeaway from this is they're in a good spot, and they think they're in a good spot. Like there was positive vibes from a Super Bowl losing team. Like there wasn't a lot of bitching and moaning and complaining and looking back. There was a lot of keep the eyes forward. We got this. We're going to get back to the big game. And that's the right vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's also good to hear Sirianni's outline that now that they've been to the big dance, like his focus is not going to be telling the guys, all right, we need to get back to the Super Bowl. It's going to be one game at a time. Like he's been preaching all throughout the previous season here, is that like you don't make the Super Bowl if you keep talking about the Super Bowl. You got to make the Super Bowl by attacking each and every week as the primary goal.
Okay, it's time. NFL draft coverage begins now on the Double Doink podcast.
Woo!
That's the entrance I got. All right, it's draft season. If you don't know already, we are 29 days officially from the NFL draft, so we're getting there. And we're going to kind of give you an introduction to the NFL draft for the Eagles standpoint. What picks they have going up and down, what prospects we kind of sort of like to start. And then as the weeks go on, the Double Doink podcast, Thomas and I will be breaking down positions and get more in depth. But today is more of like an introduction to the NFL draft for the Eagles. So let's start with just the picks they have, Thomas. As of right now, the Philadelphia Eagles hold the 10th overall pick, the 30th overall pick, 62nd overall pick, the 94th overall pick, 219th, and 248. So that equals 2 firsts, a second, a third, and 2 sevenths. So they are lacking in the day 3 picks as of right now. And they don't have a 4th round pick that was traded for Robert Quinn. RIP to that pick. It's going to be very interesting to see what the Bears do with that pick and follow that draft pick going forward. But just from the picks that they have, like, do you think they're in a good spot going into the draft?
Yeah, of course. I mean, being having extra picks in the top 3 rounds and lacking in 4, 5, 6 is always a good problem. Like, give me that any day.
Plus, 4 in the top 100, you say. Like 4 in the top 100 is very good for a team that just made the Super Bowl.
It's absurd. They're going to have the same next year. Probably that third next year, I guess, could be. No, wait. No, they're going to have 4 in the top 100 next year as well.
Yeah, I have also have their 2024 picks. I'll quickly just toss them out. They have 1, a first, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, a 4th, 5 fifths, and a 6th. They total have 12 draft picks. So that's very key to keep in mind because that's going to affect this draft.
Absolutely, and that's exactly the key to that middle portion of the draft. That if they want to move into the draft, they can do that easily by swapping away some of the picks that they're going to be projected to have next year.
Let's start with the 10th overall pick because that's going to be obviously the most important and it's the key one. That's the one from the Saints. Thank you, Mickey Loomis. for helping the boys out. And they have the Saints second round pick next year. Saints bag just keeps on giving. They're like the Santa Claus of the Eagles draft picks. Where is your mind at on if they're going to pick a 10th overall, if they're going to go up from 10, if they're going to go down from 10? What do you think happens just selection wise, like not the player, but where they're going to be picking? Because I don't think they're going to be picking at 10. I think it's a low outcome.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be moving up.
Okay.
And if I kind of I'll set that percentage like extremely low. If they're going to do anything at that point, they're going to move back and acquire more picks in the process. Like it's going to all going to be depending on who falls and what the quarterback situation is going to be looking like there. Like let's see with Lewis and Richardson if the hype lives up to the draft status of them, if they're actually going to be taken at that point, or if we're going to see a haul of talented defensive players being taken to that point. Like we saw a little bit of it last year. Of course, the quarterback draft class is a lot better this year. Like C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young obviously going to go 1 and 2, I think. But but Anthony Richardson and Will Levis have like the vibe to them that it may be a little bit of hype. Where like last year we got some hype as well, and then you only see Kenny Pickett go in the first round, and not a single quarterback until the third round. Like Anthony Richardson rides on the hype of the combine and his running ability and all that kind of thing, and that may get him in the top 10 range, maybe even like extremely high if somebody falls in love with the traits. But also wouldn't be surprised if we see Will and Anthony both slide a little bit down.
Okay.
And in that situation, I think Eagles are a prime trade up candidate at 10 for a team that would be like going for one of those guys. And in that case, I think that could be a really good chance the Eagles move back in the draft, because there's like the middle portion of the first round is going to be really stacked. It's going to be a lot of players. Like it's not a top heavy draft. This is, but if the 4 quarterbacks go in the top 10, there's going to be some guy fall to 10 where you like that they're going to fall in love with, and it's going to be a defensive lineman.
I'll hold that thought. I'll be talking about that. I'm going to push back on your trade up. I think here's how, if I was going to percentage it right now, okay, I think there's a 10% chance that they pick at 10, and a 40% chance they trade up, and a 40% chance they trade down. No, wait, that math doesn't add up. 45% chance they trade up,
10% chance they don't make a pick
down,
at all.
10% chance they make the pick.
They forget to put in the.
Yeah, I like the quarterback thing's important here, because never in NFL draft history has 4 quarterbacks been taken in the top 10. It has never happened before. I think there's 4 quarterbacks in this draft that should be top 10 picks, or I think are okay to be top 10 picks. Like it's justifiable, if that makes sense. Like that you said, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, and Anthony Richardson. I think they're all great prospects.
You think Will Levis is top 10 pick though? Like
I do. I wouldn't.
You think he's better than Hendon Hooker?
Yes, I think he's got way more upside than Hendon Hooker. You gonna push back on that? What hit me? What's wrong with the Will Levis?
No, I think Hendon Hooker is every bit better than Will Levis. The only thing that he doesn't have the same as the age. That's the only thing.
Hendon Hooker's going to be in a retirement home in 2 years.
No, he's at 25. I mean, if quarterbacks play until they're 40 years old, you're going to get 15 years of a player. I mean, who cares if he's 25? He's a better thrower. Like he doesn't turn the ball over like crazy. Yeah, I mean, Will Levis has 1 year tape that is worth grading in the first round. Everything else that he's done in his career has been terrible.
Oh, okay. I like Will Levis as a prospect. He can make every throw on the field. He can hit every
in 1 year
little keyhole. Yeah, but you're projecting with quarterbacks a lot, right?
Yeah, of course. But it's just like I'd rather have a quarterback who's actually consistently done that.
Well, when you're drafting quarterback, a lot of time you're drafting upside potential. Like we can have the same conversation with Anthony Richardson. The guy went 6-6 last year, under 60% completion percentage, and he's going to be a top 5 pick
as a passer.
Yeah, like there's. You're banking on like upside and projection. You're banking on to be the next Josh Allen. That's what every single quarterback is going to be compared to now in the first round. Is he going to be the next Josh Allen? Is he going to be the next Josh Allen? And I don't mind that mindset a little bit, because at the quarterback position, if you don't have a top 5, top 7 quarterback in the NFL, you're most likely not going to succeed. You're going to need a ton of talent around him, and getting a quarterback in the top 10 with using a top 10 pick to draft a quarterback is your best way to achieve that. I think Will Levis can make every throw on the field. I think he can hit he can hit every both boundaries. He can throw it deep. He's athletic. He's big. He seems like a good guy. He's kind of weird. You see, he dipped his hot dog in mayonnaise comment. Not a big fan of that. Can't be dipping hot dog in mayonnaise. Or was it coffee in mayonnaise? Put
I
mayonnaise
have
in
no idea.
coffee? You didn't see this?
No.
I think it was. I think he put mayonnaise in his coffee at one point to try it out, and he admitted it during the draft process. Which, that could fall you to a second round pick.
Undraftable.
Yeah, that's like undraftable territory. But anyways, there's four quarterbacks that are most likely going to be going top 15. It's never happened before top 10. The more quarterbacks that go early benefits the Eagles. And your point of if the quarterbacks don't go and they really like a player. So, for instance, I think there's two guys that they would really want to trade up for if they start to fall, and that's Jalen Carter and Tyree Wilson. But who are you going to trade up for to get them, right? Because the guys that are right there are probably going to like them as well. Like Atlanta's sitting at 8, Chicago's sitting at 9. They both scream Tyree Wilson and Jalen Carter potential. I don't think the Raiders are going to let one of those guys buy. So it's more of finding the right dance partner to trade up with than like it's hard to kind of pinpoint a team that they would go. I think you'd have like maybe the Lions would trade down, but I don't even know if they would at 6. Like it's hard to kind of find a dancing. It's hard to find a dancing partner for them to trade up. That's kind of my take on the trade up part.
Yeah, the whole Jalen Carter thing is going to be interesting to see,
Mhm.
like how much his draft stock is going to be impacted by the whole off-field incident there.
I don't. Do you think it's gonna? I don't know.
It may have been come draft time. It may be something that nobody talks about, and if nobody talks about it, teams will take a flyer on it.
Teams have drafted players with way sketchier. I know what Jalen Carter did was awful, and it should not be excused. But we have to remember, like, these are kids. He's a 20. How old is Jalen Carter? 20, 21 years old. He's a kid. Teams understand that, and I don't think it's going to have too much of too big of a deal. I don't think if he does, for personally, as an Eagle, like I would want him on the Eagles. I don't think that should affect Howie Roseman's way of picking Jalen Carter because defensive tackle is a huge need. Like if he starts to fall and you have a dance partner with the Atlanta Falcons at 8, because I don't think he makes Chicago at 9. If the Falcons are willing to move down, like fire me up, like sign me up for Jalen Carter.
Yeah,
you're not. Wait, not a lot of enthusiasm with that. What's wrong?
I don't know. I'm just gonna be. I'm interesting to see what happens with it. It's gonna be one of those like early first round draft pick things to watch.
So that's the trade up part. The trade down aspect of it. The way I'm looking at the draft board right now, I think after Jalen Carter and Tyree Wilson, if you're looking at defensive side of the ball, there's so many different evaluations you have to make. There's so many different players. Like I think it's such a murky 8 to 20 range, maybe even farther than that, 8 to whatever, the end of the first round. Like I don't know who they're gonna like. I'll talk about some guys I think they're gonna like, but it's so hard to pinpoint and evaluate those guys in my opinion right now. As I'm starting my draft kind of draft type, it's there's so many guys. Like I don't know who's like the best player there. Like you can go so many different ways. So I think trading down from 10, grabbing assets and moving those out, like you can grab the 4th round pick that you don't have anymore. You can grab an extra 3rd, 5th, 6th, whatever you want to say for day 2 picks. I just feel like the Eagles trading down to 10, grabbing more assets and kind of making their decision easier, I guess, later in the first round is probably the most likely outcome. But I still think trading up is likely as well. So it's tough. I just don't see them picking at 10. I just think it's not going to happen.
I think the board is going to if it is what we project, and it never is, I can see a name dropping to 10 that they're going to be able to take, that they're going to want to take.
So who would it be? Who would it be?
Oh, I think they're going to be at 10. I think we're going to get a little bit surprised. They're going to pick a defensive lineman, and basically there's a bunch of guys here that's going to fit the 3 tech. We brought up Tyree Wilson as well, like a big body guy.
I love Tyree Wilson, man.
Yeah. I mean, he's there's a bunch of super strong guys here. Like if they really want to commit to this 3-4 tech defensive end 3-4 scheme here, there's going to be there are a bunch of names being thrown out there. Obviously, we don't know where these guys are going to go whatsoever. But Tyree Wilson is one of them. Lucas Van Ness, another guy that's been brought up.
Who you love, right? You're a big Lucas Van Ness fan, apparently.
No, I hate it, Lucas Van Ness. There are a bunch all the defensive ends in this class can't rush the passer for shit. It's absurd. It's generally in this class, there's not a lot of good pass rushers. like the best pass rushers are Nolan Smith and BJ Ojulari. Massey Smith is probably one of the defensive ends that can really rush the passer. I think he's the guy who's going to go a lot higher than what's going to be anticipated at the top end of the draft. Miles Murphy from Clemson is also a guy that I think has more bend than quite a lot of the top heavy part of it.
He's a big boy, man.
Yeah,
I was kind of blown away with his his height, his weight, his speed.
Yeah.
He reminds me a lot of Rashawn Gary, and he's almost got a little bit of a Brandon Graham to him a little bit.
Yeah, I think Miles Murphy's going to go a lot higher than people think. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a top 10 pick.
Yeah. So let's just talk about the defensive lineman now, since you brought it up, because I wanted to pinpoint 3 guys. I agree with you. I think the most likely outcome for their first pick, 10 wherever it's going to be, is going to be defensive lineman.
It could be I'll put it at 90%.
Yeah, I agree. I think like the way the defensive line room is shaked out right now, you have Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, and Hassan Reddick that are all locked up for next year. It gets a lot murkier after that. Josh Sweat's going to be up for a contract after the 2024 season. He actually is really expensive in 2024. Maybe they want to extend him there. I'm assuming they probably will look to extend him. Hassan Reddick is also out in 2024. Brandon Graham, probably you only have 1 year, maybe 2 left. Derek Barnett, you can't really count on much. I think anything you get from Derek Barnett next year is a bonus. I don't think you can be counting on him to produce anything. So they have a huge hole in the rotational edge rushing on the roster, and I think they're going to want to fill that, and that's what this team does. Just look at the history. They drafted Derek Barnett in the first round. They drafted Brandon Graham in the first round. Like this is a position that they value, and it's a position that I think can impact day one. And that's one of the kind of big key takeaways from this draft is I really want players that are going to be active day one. I don't want the let's wait around. Like I don't want the Andre Dillard pick. I don't want the Sidney Jones pick.
You don't want Lucas Van Ness. That's what I'm hearing.
So there's 3 guys that I think that they're going to like: Miles Murphy, Nolan Smith, and Lucas Van Ness. Do you agree? Do you think what are the odds? You think one of those 3 are the first pick?
50-50.
So you think you think it's even those 3 of the field?
Nolan Smith, I could definitely get behind, just because he's undersized, but he's got athletic ability off the charts. I still think he's a better athlete on display, like what we saw at the combine and how he moves. He's more explosive than he is athletic when he's rushing. Like for a guy his size, he's got an incredible one-arm stab. Like he's been driving offensive tackles back in the SEC with that one-arm lean. Like he knows how to lean in angles, but he's not the Josh Sweat, like bend off the edge, swipe the hands away, bend off. Like you don't really see that too much.
He's very he's like an elastic band. I tweeted it out today. Like he puts his body in weird formations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like he's not like, I get what you mean with bending off the edge. Like doesn't really get under guys like you said Josh Sweat does. I think he definitely needs to upgrade his pass rush moves. He did lead the nation in pass rush win rate, but he only rushed the passer 100. Where is it right here? He only rushed the passer 102 times last year with 2 sacks. Like the production just wasn't there. And I brought this up to you just in private. Is Georgia defense something to do with this, right? Like the way that they run their scheme. They don't really ask their edge rushers to kind of pin their ears back and go.
No, they drop back a ton. Like Nolan Smith has been dropping back in coverage quite a bit. But what's really nice to see is that in the run game, he's a quick twitch mover as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like he will destroy blocks in the way you saw Micah Parsons do it as well when he was a linebacker. Like that natural ability of shedding a block. It doesn't look forced. It doesn't look like he plants it in any way. It's just something that comes natural to him. Mm-hmm. And when he's double teamed, despite his size, he's not going to get shoved down the line 3 yards in a second. Like he can withstand some of that. Some of that force is going to be on drive blocks. So that's something that's key on him. I will say though that if we can throw in another name into your 4-man bunch, which I think would take it up from, I said 50%, but it would increase the chance of who they would select.
It would make it that plus 100 odds to like minus.
Yeah, I mean, you see the success that they had with a guy like Javon Hargrave, who they signed, who's more of an undersized guy, but he's really thick in his lower end of his body, and he's bendy in a way that made him one of the best pass rushers in the league. I saw the same with when they drafted Milton Williams. Not a big defensive end, defensive tackle type of guy at all, but he's a pass rusher. Like, he has the pass rush ability. He's got movability as a defensive tackle. They drafted Jordan Davis, so they don't need any zero technique guys. Like, preferably, they're not going to be using any other zero technique or one technique guy whatsoever. So they have him as the double team eat up guy in the middle of the defense. So when you combine their draft history of selecting a guy like Milton Williams and with his size, and you combine the success that they've had with Javon Hargrave and obviously his departure, and they're going to need to find some pass rush in the middle. I think Kalijah Kancey at 10 is a real option. I think it's a guy we really need to talk about because, like with Nolan Smith, it's basically the same story here. You're talking about a guy who is undersized, but he's a football player. Underline that 2 times. Like, despite his size, despite everything you can go against him in terms of metrics and analytics, he destroys offensive linemen in every single way possible. Like, his leverage is so stupidly good that when he takes on a double team, he will bend in on one of the guys. He'll put his force in on the second, and he'll stand up the ground on the line of scrimmage. So it doesn't matter really that he is at the size he has. We can bring up his short arms. Well, it doesn't matter if you have short arms if you can extend on a guy and then rip them down at the first thing. Like, offensive linemen are slow. They're stupid. They don't know what they're doing. So if you can get your hand placement on them, you can rip them down before they actually know what hit them. You're good. And
you're pro offensive line, though. They're not stupid. Like, this is your guy.
I mean, it's like watching a guy like Kalijah Kancey play football is just it's different. Like, you see the entire spectrum of defensive tackle. You watch 20 clips of them pass rush. You get bored as fuck on 17 of them. And you see 3 reps where you go, oh, that's potential. With a guy like Kalijah Kancey, you're going to see 15 reps where he goes, he destroyed that block, but he didn't make the tackle or this or that. But he made a phenomenal play on that one. I know the other 5 plays he's gonna make something happen. Sure, on some of them he's gonna get washed. But I'm like, if you ask me to put up the tape of Lucan Van Ness getting washed off the line, like, give me a day and I'll find you 10-minute video. And so, like, that goes with every single defensive lineman in there. So if you want a pass rusher, you want somebody who's a proven football player, like right off the bat, who can go into a 3-4 technique and a 3-4 defense, have all that double team susceptibility being taken away by a guy like Jordan Davis. Like, it's the end. Like, Jordan Davis is a massive guy and he's super athletic. Kalijah Kancey is a small guy. And he's one of the best pass rushers I've seen at the defensive tackle position in I don't know how long.
He was in the 100th percentile of pass rush win rate.
Right. So Nolan Smith or Kalijah Kancey,
yeah.
I'm all the way down for it simply because, if nothing else, they're freaks and they're football players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kancey had 275 pass rush snaps last year with 8 sacks. Really impressive. And he had 367 last year with only 9 sacks. So his pass rush productivity has skyrocketed over last year. His arms worry me, man. I feel like he's going to get blocked too easily. I haven't done a ton of watch on Kalijah Kancey yet. Have you watched his Virginia game yet? Apparently, that's the game where he really balled out.
Every single game you can find on YouTube, that's the same thing. Like,
full disclosure, guys. Thomas, this was the first guy that Thomas linked me and said you got to watch Kalijah Kancey. Like, I haven't watched him yet. I kind of went.
Ojulari was the first one, to be honest.
I
think BJ Ojulari against Georgia was one of the best tapes.
That was your second one. But Kancey was we were still in
Kancey
Super Bowl
against Tennessee mode. Was maybe the first one. You're right.
Yeah. We were still in Super Bowl mode, and you're telling me about Kancey.
Yeah, I mean, it's a joy, man. It's it's a pleasure to watch.
I think throwing Kancey in that bucket is definitely fair. They need a defensive tackle. That's a whole position in need. The one thing that I keep coming back to with these guys is I don't know if 10 is the right place for them. Like, they're gonna fall in love with someone. I feel like 10, get out, go up or down, because you can probably find the guy that you like at 12, 13, 14. You know what I mean?
Probably.
I would be shocked if they sit at 10 and pick one of those 4 guys. I think the pick is going to be one of those 4 guys. I don't know if it's at 10. And it's such a weird spot to be in with this draft. It's obviously a blessing. You'd rather be at 10 than 30. But it's just, there's such a murky water to it with these players. And I'm having a hard time kind of mucking or making my way through the murkiness, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. It's much more easy when we get to 30.
Yes, exactly. Okay, I think Miles Murphy's a guy that I'm really intrigued by. I haven't watched a
Yeah,
ton of
me
him yet.
too.
He is like he's massive. Like I said,
It's very up
he,
and down with
he
Miles.
he benched 25 reps. He can bench like 405 pounds. He is he's a super like people his size are not supposed to be that big and that fast, or people his size are not supposed to be that fast and that athletic. Sorry, he's a freaking nature. He's a one of one almost.
How
Coming
does
out of the
he
draft.
stack up to Josh Sweat? I want to say that they're kind of.
That'd be an interesting
Oh,
kind of.
wait. Yeah. Who was it? Was it Josh Allen that he pretty much compared to athletically? Yeah, Josh Allen of Jaguars.
Mhm. He didn't do any of the combine drills. He only did bench. But apparently, like his combine stuff, I don't know if Clemson has a pro day coming up or not. But like apparently last year, like he killed the broad jump, he killed the vertical jump. So I don't think the athletic testing is going to be any problem, even if he already didn't do it. And he's also scheme versatile. He can play anywhere. So he's a guy you can put on the edge. You can put in and that's what the Eagles kind of go for with their pass rushers. They can put them anywhere. So I think he fits that bill as well.
They had their pro day. He didn't participate.
You didn't? Okay. Interesting. That's Miles Murphy. Lucas Van Ness, I am higher on him than you. I know you're not a big fan of him. I can see Howie Roseman and the Eagles falling in love with him. He's the oldest one of the group that we're talking about. He's 22 years old already. I am an ageist when it comes to the draft, so that's something I always keep an eye on with age. So
That explains Hooker.
Yeah. Well, the thing with quarterbacks, it doesn't bug me a lot, but position players, like I want 21, 22-year-old max. Like that's the thing about Tyreek Wilson.
Watch Brendan D collapse.
Oh man, that's the thing about Tyree Wilson that's bugging me. He's gonna be 23 years old. Like he's my draft crush right now, but that 23-year-old freaks me out. But so Lucas Van Ness, 22 years old, will be 22 years old in July. Sorry. He had 9 sacks and 271 pass rush snaps last year, but he needs more pass rush moves. Like he's kind of just bull rushes every time, but he's probably the best run defender out of all 3 of them as well, which something could like. He's an athletic freak.
Nolan Smith is a better run defender. Nolan Smith is a better run defender than Lucas Van Ness.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fair.
He's in much more he's just in much more control. Like it's one thing is being big and can shove people. The other thing is when you can actually leverage upon an offensive lineman and get one arm extended and have control of your gap. Like you can react to when the running comes through the gap. Too many times you see Lucas Van Ness just like basically have his arms on the offensive lineman, but then not disengage in time to actually have his gap, and then there's no reason you don't make a difference.
So are you fully nothing's going to change your mind on Van Ness over the next month?
If he was to pick at 30, I could see the projection.
Okay,
that's probably where we are. There are so many other defenders that are much better suited for a 3 to 5 tech defensive end in a 3-4 scheme who can actually rush the passer and also have some have a much better projection. Like I mentioned Massey Smith before. Give me him any day of the week at any point in the first round. Editomiwa from Northwestern. Much rather have him. And
he can also he's versatile, right? He can play inside.
He's super versatile.
Yeah.
Like strong guy, push pull like a maniac.
Okay, let's do it. Let's have the Bijan Robinson discussion.
Yeah, speaking of trading down.
So this is going to be the hot topic on Eagles Twitter, social media, wherever you get your Eagles content. This is the hot guy. This is the hot topic. So I'm just going to lay it on the line. I'll open up for you. Pass the ball to you. What is your, I guess, mindset on Bijan Robinson? Where he should be taken, and do you think the Eagles should consider taking him with their first round draft pick?
To take it somewhat in order, I think you should be taken in around the 15 to 20 range. I think that'd be the most suitable for a running back of his caliber. I would not be surprised if he's taken earlier than that. Also, with that comes that the running back market has been quite insane in free agency. Like a bunch of guys have been bouncing around, and you can find quality running backs around here, around the NFL, like Rashad Penny, for example. Guys who come with the risk, but then again, Bijan Robinson is just his contact balance is that elite level that that we saw with Saquon Barkley and Ezekiel Elliott type guys. But also think the track record of first round running backs is good. but so is second and third round. So the value of drafting a guy like that high, like it has to be it like unlike so many other draft picks where you can go like, oh yeah, I see the projection with this and all yada yada.
It better
Like
hit. It better
has to
fucking
hit,
hit. Yeah.
and it has to hit immediately. And it
Yeah.
has to change. Like it has to move the needle for your offense, 100%. So coming to the Eagles, it's such a luxury pick, 100%. I think all the logic says that I would rather that they go elsewhere, but I can get it. Like if that's the pick, okay, let's run with it. Like I want to see I like to see that offense. But that the same would go with. I think the biggest pushback I'd have against it is that I would rather have Jahmyr Gibbs at 30 than I would have Bijan Robinson at any other point in the first round. And
I agree.
I think that obviously Bijan is the better running back. I'm not sure he's the better football player than Jahmyr Gibbs when all is said and done. Like when we look at this in 4 years.
Bijan Robinson was extremely fun to watch. He was one of the first players I dove into last week. Like his tape's electric. I've never seen a guy follow his blocks so well. Like he just knows where to go. His eyes are up, and man, he can miss tackle or break tackles. Like I thought it was crazy when I was watching him. Like this guy had to have led the nation in broken tackles, and
he did.
Damn right, he did. First in forced missed tackles rate out of all running backs in the nation. He has a great center of gravity. Like he's low, he stays upright. I think Saquon Barkley was a better running back prospect than him. I think some people are kind of putting him over Saquon. I don't think that's true. I feel like Saquon was a bigger, more explosive Bijan Robinson, if that makes sense. Like Saquon was a 4th overall pick here. Was he 4th or was he 2nd? 2nd, right? How high did Saquon go?
I'll find out for you.
Yeah, look that up. But yeah, like I think he's a first round talent in the 10 to 30 range, wherever all it takes is one team.
Second overall.
Jesus. Do you think it was a good pick in the end for the Giants? Do you have the draft ahead of you, in front of you?
I will find that. But before I find it, I will say that for the majority of the years that he's been with the team, he's been the guy where you look at their offense and you go, or you look at their team and you go, how do we stop Saquon Barkley? So yeah. I guess if that's the impact that it has, I guess it's worth it in the way that it absolutely moved the needle for your team.
Yeah.
So after that, we have Sam Darnold, Denzel Ward, Bradley Chubb, Quentin Nelson, Josh Allen, Roquan Smith, Mike McGlinchey, Josh Rosen in the top 10. I don't hate the pick when you look at it in retrospect.
Agreed. Yeah. It wasn't a terrible pick. And he just got a franchise tag. He's going to be around for at least one more year. So they got 5 years out of him. I think he was injured for 2 of those. I guess we'll see how his health goes this year. But in the end, like it hasn't turned out a terrible pick. So you can kind of use that as kind of a gateway for the Eagles. Like even if they take in the first round, I know running back position value is just not there compared to the rest of the league, other positions in the league. It's something that's going to bug me for the next 5 weeks. It's kind of my big Bijan take is I don't know what the Eagles are going to do regarding the 10th pick. So it's hard to say if they would take him, if they're going to take him there, because I don't think they're going to be at the 10th. But he's a really exciting player, really fun player. And I would love to see him dropped in on the offense. And the other thing is, too, I was thinking about, like, if they do take a running back in the day 1 or day 2, he better be able to play slot receiver. You better be able to stay on the field on third downs. And Bijan Robinson was 21st in yards per route run of all running backs last year. So he can do that. And he did it. He did it against Alabama. The game that he struggled running the ball, he had like 80 yards receiving. So this is a guy that you can plug in right away. He can be your running back on first and second downs. He can move over to the slot on third down. And I also think you can do that with Jahmyr Gibbs, like you're talking about, like you brought up.
Yeah, basically that would be your way of getting Quez Watkins off the field and improving in that sense.
That's the thing with this team is there's not a lot of like playing like roles to go and get playing time on the offense right away. There's 3 that I think could start day 1. Running back is the easiest one. Wide receiver 3, which is going to be tricky. I don't know if you're going to be able to find a wide receiver 3 later in the draft. It'll be tough, but maybe it happens. Yeah. And then right guard as well. But then you're taking Cam Jurgens off the field, right? So it's there's not very many places on the offense where you can get upside and get better than you were last year. So that's why I do think like taking a running back high could like would be a great benefit to this team going forward for the next couple of years. It's tricky to dictate the positional value with him, with the running backs in general, and then pinpointing it to other needs on the roster. Like, it's such a tricky area with the Eagles. There's so much push and pull with taking a running back high.
Yeah, and I wouldn't like if we get to pick number 10 and we get like Eagles pick us in. I would have a very hard time imagining that it was Robinson. Yes. But if they trade back, then we're going to have the discussion immediately.
Yeah. How high would you? Let's say the Eagles trade down to. Let's say they trade with Washington, or let's use Detroit an example, because I think the Lions could trade up. I think they're a potential trade up candidate to go get a quarterback if they don't get their guy at 6 and one starts to fall. Would you take him at 18?
18?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay. I think that's where my starting point is. Like, I think 18 is like, if the Eagles are at 18, I wouldn't hate it and I would be on board.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the draft pick cap hit in the first round.
Like how much money you would make?
Yeah, exactly. Because I think that's going to tie into it.
Mm-hmm. They don't like to allocate money to running backs.
Exactly. And like we know that. So there's going to be a massive difference if they're going to be paying $4 million in like if that's the cap hit or if it's $2.5 million.
How many running backs have you watched so far? And who do you like?
A lot. I watched a ton. I watched too many running backs.
Is Jahmyr Gibbs your favorite so far?
Yeah, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is my favorite simply because, like you said, like he just has so much versatility that like you can label him anything, and I wouldn't look like you could label him as a receiver. I could buy into it.
He was like 6 in yards per route runner of all running backs. 6, and like if you watch it, it shows on tape. Like he is so fun in open space.
Yeah, it's absurd. Like he's just a football player. It's so fun to watch.
He would be very fun in the Eagles offense.
Yeah, finally they would have a guy where like he would just make the offense easier at some points. Like so many times when we had like swing routes going out and we'd be frustrated with Miles Sanders running out of bounds or getting tackled by the first guy in open field. Like you'd just be over that, and just that added element to the offense moved the needle. Mm-hmm. And that's really what it takes for me is that is it a guy who instantly makes your offense better and you have a higher chance of converting drives into touchdowns.
Is his broken tackle rate or anything like that worry you? Because when I was watching him, he didn't break a lot of tackles. He's not a bigger guy in between the tackles. Like he's not going to be like, that's what they got Penny for. And it makes sense that he would be a perfect fit with him. But do you have any worry that like he won't be an inside runner in the NFL?
I think he can be coached up to that. I don't think like Alabama has like a power running scheme a lot of times. So like he's used to following blocks. And the thing with him is that when he hits a gap, he's usually so fast into it that when he meets contact and gets tackled, it's usually going to fall forward and could get a couple yards more than that. Like the difference between like if you run slowly and you're in control and you have good contact balance, you have a higher chance of breaking the tackle. But if you just explode through a gap with like a tremendous amount of speed, like it doesn't take much of a tackle for you to get out of balance and then fall, but you're also gaining a ton of yards in the process. Mm-hmm.
Like he was running, like that was one of my kind of takeaways from watching Jahmyr Gibbs is like every time he had the ball, he was in open field. Like there was no one around him.
He gets in space fast.
Bill O'Brien was the offensive coordinator last year, right? Like he did a very good job of scheming him out.
Yeah, he had 6.1 yards per attempt.
Yeah,
pretty good.
I want to watch some more games of Jahmyr Gibbs though, still. But yeah, from like I've done some good solid research on him, but I really like him. I would take him at 30. I would sign up for Jahmyr Gibbs at 30.
Yeah, I wouldn't like. I would love that as well. Gives you the fifth year option, instantly makes your offense better. Low cap hit even for a running back at that spot. I would definitely be down for it. There's still some guys that further down the drafts could add a ton of value. I guess that also speaks against picking a guy high. So that's why if they go do with a running back right there, he has to instantly make your offense better.
Agreed. Okay. Anything else you want to touch on? Any other prospects you want to get out early before we kind of do our full draft prep over the next month? Give the Eagles fans a name that you're looking at.
One name, like speaking of running backs, we might as well just finish that. I'll give you one name, and it's interesting because he was red flagged at the combine. I found out afterwards, like he went back to get additional checkups, and I haven't actually heard the word on what that means. But every time a player gets red flagged at the combine, and when they're already a projection to not go like first round, second round, it's always interesting. But Chase Brown from Illinois is a guy that I enjoyed watching so much. You know, when you're just grinding through names and you see you see 2 games of each player and just go, oh, another guy, another guy, another guy. Like there's so many running backs in this class that are good, but you don't really see them like doing anything special to, like I said, move the needle. Like they aren't difference makers. But the same like everybody loves Zach Charbonnet out of UCLA. I kind of get it, but also I just see another guy. Like he doesn't have any trait to me that's really special. Jahmyr Gibbs is a massive weapon. Bijan Robinson, contact balance out of this world. Devon A-Chain, like speed, like never before. Like he will hit a home run like that. Chase Brown is he's shifty, man. Like he is quick. And I guess that's the kind of thing that like his special type of thing. When you watch him, it's always fun to see because he has some of that Bijan Robinson light in that he's really good at following his blocks, and he will break it if he gets the chance. So write him down. I don't know what the medical stuff is all going to amount to. The more medical stuff, the better, because Eagles might actually be able to get him at the end, like when they get to that late round.
You forgot to mention like the best thing about Chase Brown. He's Canadian.
He is? Really?
Yeah, he is. He was born and raised in London. He's got a brother, Sidney Brown, as well, that's going to get drafted.
Well, there we go.
Sign me up for Chase Brown then.
Yeah, I guess
I haven't
there we
watched
go.
him yet. It's funny. There's 5 Canadians I expect to go in the draft. One of them is going to be on the Double Down podcast at some point. Matt, have you heard of Matthew Bergeron yet?
No idea.
Offensive tackle from Syracuse. He's going to be like a 2nd round pick, maybe early 2nd. He's in that 7th to 10th offensive tackle range, but he was born and raised in Quebec. I've spoken to him, and he will come on the podcast at some point. Big Canadian, man. Canadians are making their way in the NFL.
Yeah. Good. Good for you guys. Oh, wait, just because I hadn't actually checked the numbers on Chase Brown before I threw him out here. Like I just watched the tape of him. I didn't go through any of this analytical thing here.
He led the league. He led the NFL in rushing or NCAA football in rushing. Did he not?
7th in yards after contact, 3rd in missed tackles forced. Okay,
that's pretty. Yeah, it's pretty darn good.
That's pretty dang good.
I thought he was high in the rushing leaders too.
Yeah, it's 1,632 yards in 2022, averaging five per clip on 329 reps. Are you kidding me?
Illinois' rushing offense was elite this year. I actually know. I grew up with
that is bonkers.
A guard on Illinois, Elijah. Shout out Elijah. His brother grew up with an Ajax, so he's got Illinois' offense as an Ajax Ontario man on it. So it's obviously a good running attack.
Let me give you hold on, let me just check up this right here because I think I saw. Didn't I see it? Yeah. When he I always mark the games where when I'm going through tape of a guy, if they're playing a really good team like Alabama or Georgia, like when I sent to you, like BJ Ojulari, when he actually absolutely lit up Georgia, and their left tackle who was projected to go in the 1st round, I forget. Well, Broderick
Jones.
Broderick Jones, yeah. Like he smothered Broderick Jones. Like Broderick had a terrible day. So like I marked those games, and for Chase Brown, it was against Michigan. We had 29 carries for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. I gotta watch Wisconsin as well. Like Wisconsin, really good defense, 129 yards, 1 touchdown. Like he was all over the place. One last guy, Cody Mauch. I don't know is that how you say it? Cody Mauch.
This is a new guy to me. I don't know.
Is a new guy to you? All right, North Dakota State. He has.
Oh, is he offensive lineman?
Yeah. It's the guy who's missing his teeth.
Yeah. Yes. I've seen him. Yes.
At 30. I would pick him at 30.
He's going that high?
He smothered everybody at the Senior Bowl. Smothered. He is a guy where, like, I picture I'm a fly on the wall, and Jeff Stoutland is watching tape of Cody Mauch, and he's just going, yes.
Give me.
He is the one.
Yeah. I think Eagles fans need to be prepared for an offensive lineman to go and win their first 3 picks. I feel like it's kind of
it's going to happen.
I'm not saying it's annoying on Twitter, but a lot of fans are like, we need this position. We need this position. That's not how the NFL draft works. You draft best player available. You don't fill. That's what the Eagles got in trouble when they tried to fill a hole with Jalen Reagor. They just picked the wrong guy, right? Like you want your roster set up where you don't have to force a draft pick. And that's where the Eagles are in such a good position right now, where they can pick best player available. They don't have to kind of find the right guy. At the same time, I would like for these players to contribute day one. Like I don't want it to be last year. So it's kind of, again, it's that push and pull there where you're kind of in a funny situation where you want these picks to play day one, but you also want to pick the best player available. So that's kind of that's how GMs work. That's the hard part of the job.
Can we agree that there's a 90% chance that 2 of the first 3 picks are going to be an offensive lineman and a defensive lineman?
Oh, I think it's like 95%. Yeah,
I'm down for that as well.
Yeah, same. I they need offensive line depth. Like that offensive line kind of room is starting to thin out a little bit.
Yeah, the interior of the offense is going to be like the interior of the O-line is more pressing than the edges now that Lane Johnson had the extra year on his extension. Like Jason Kelsey is much more soon, much sooner. Yeah.
One last take I want to throw your way, which I thought was pretty funny. I was watching Tank Dell. One of the first guys to watch. Everyone was hyping him up on Twitter.
Yeah.
Went in to watch Tank Dell. Came out loving Clayton Tune, the quarterback. I don't know why Clayton Tune isn't getting more love, man. They were a fun duo to watch. Like I haven't done enough Tank Dell. I kind of like was watching, like, who's throwing him the ball? And then I started watching Clayton Tune. I'm like, why is not like? And then I just went down a Clayton Tune rabbit hole. Like, why is this guy not getting so much love? He's 24 years old. He's a little older. He's not big, but he can make every throw. He doesn't have the biggest arm in the world, but he's shifty. He can escape the pocket. I don't know. I really like Clayton Tune.
Is he in this draft?
Yeah, he is. He's in
at the combine.
He was at the combine. Yeah, I think he led the nation in touchdown passes last year.
Well, the more you know.
Really good year at Houston, but I like Clayton Tune. There's my quarterback take. It's the only quarterback take you'll get from me. Maybe for another.
All right. But I guess that's kind of the like when you put on tape with somebody and you come away watching somebody else.
That was you know who that was for me last year was it who was the wide receiver from Rutgers that I think the Giants took him. I can't remember who it was. He was a wide receiver on Rutgers. He went in the 5th round or something. Yeah. And then I went in to watch Rutgers offense, and I came out loving Isaiah Pacheco. Like, that's how my Pacheco love came. I was all over Pacheco last year. Like, I want to go back and find some tweets. Like, I loved him, and I knew Andrew was going to turn him into a star, and it's exactly what happened. But, yeah, that's exactly what happened to me last year. I went in to go watch someone, and then came out loving the other guy.
That's Chase Brown to me, I think, this year.
All right, Thomas, that's enough for today. Thanks so much for jumping on, man. And we have a ton of draft prep coming your way, draft episodes coming your way. Thomas, how are we breaking up positions? We're gonna get try to get a little creative with how we do it because there's so much draft content out there. I want to get creative this year, you know.
Yeah, and it's so easy. Like we're already prone to it here today, but you like just going off of different different connections because then you think of this player and then you go to this player. It's kind of hard to keep draft things structured, I think, and also. I guess it also becomes a little bit boring when you go like solely structured into pieces like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking for my draft podcast episodes this year. I want to get creative. I want to get more entertaining with it because you can go. There's so much draft content out there. You gotta mix it up. You gotta be different. But Thomas and I will be there for the ride. And thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Really appreciate it. Make sure to check out our sponsor, BetterHelp. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Tons of great content out there. So many cool interviews lined up over the next couple of weeks. I know you guys will like it. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me and Thomas on Twitter. Follow Breaking the Birds on YouTube. Thomas does a great job breaking down. Have you done your penny video yet?
Yeah, I just did.
I haven't watched it yet.
A few days ago.
Oh, okay. Send me that. I'm going to go check that out right when I'm done. But what did you make of it? Sorry. Let's extend this one.
Love it. You were absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah, you were on the penny wagon here pretty quickly heading into free agency, and I can definitely see why. Like, you just see why he was a first round pick. Like, speaking of running backs being drafted in the first round, he has a unique ability of making guys miss. And for a guy of his size, what is he, 220 pounds, and is regularly running by DBs and outrunning them for breakaway runs here down the sideline. The long touchdowns, he can do it. He's from a zone off. I didn't know Seattle ran that heavy of a zone offense that they did, but I found out. Like he's been living in a zone offense for 5 years. He's quick, he's decisive, and basically I saw something of everything of what I was frustrated with Miles Sanders. I couldn't be happier about it. And really, when I went through his medical history, I wasn't as worried about it as I initially was. Like when you just pull up his the amount of games that he's missed and out of the potential of it, like there's a few games here and there with some hamstring injuries, nothing major, like some that happen once in a while. But the big ones are the ACL. But I mean ACL reconstruction. So at this point, like I'd like to see new numbers on it from new studies because it seems like basically every athlete has had an ACL tear at some point, and it really doesn't limit play ability in careers as much as it has before. And then his fibular fracture is basically something that if you recover from it well, you're pretty good to go. And if you'll see it in the recovery process. And from everything we've heard, and obviously since he was signed by the Eagles, he's medically cleared. He's ready to go. So I wouldn't be too worried about it. It's freak injuries, most of them.
And I take that advice from you, like out of anyone else, because you work in this field. You are a doctor.
Or you work in the not an orthopedist, but yeah,
not a doctor. Yeah, are you going to become a doctor?
Yeah. So I'm basically actually I'm starting a job at an orthopedic department.
Oh yeah, congrats! When did you get the job?
In about a month.
Okay, cool. Hell yeah. Love to see it. All right, let's finally get out of here. Thanks so much for listening, guys. I appreciate it. And we will talk to you later.